Okay guys, today we will talk about Active Directory role and we will install it on our Windows server. So in previous lesson we installed Windows Server, we configured its own basic setup, we named it TC1, we gave it IP address, we gave it time zone, and we did some basic setup. So now when we restart our server, server manager gonna show us big red signs that two services could not start. If we click on it, we see that these two services doesn't start, and we need to manually start it. So we just right click on it and start service. It happens because no one gonna shut down servers so frequently that we will do in this course. So no worries about that. So today's lesson we will install role for Active Directory to manage other users and computers inside the domain forest. To do that, on the server manager we click manage and add roles and features. Right here we click next. We click role-based feature installation. In the server selection pool you can select the server where you want to install this role. In this case we want it to install on this TC1 server. So everything is correct here. Click next. And right here we have many roles we can install on our server. We will also cover Active Directory certificate services, DNS and DHCP servers, but we will cover it on our way to course. For now we need Active Directory domain services, so let's check it. New window gonna pop up and tell us that new role gonna be installed, and these things like group policy management, remote server administration tools, and everything listed here gonna install automatically. We say OK, next. Here are the features. It also gonna automatically check every feature it needs for this role to operate correctly. So everything is good here. We click next, next, and install. Right now it's gonna start installation, and we have to wait until it finishes our installation. It's not gonna take too long because on server it does not take too much time. Let's wait a bit. Alright, it installed, as you can see. Configuration required, installation succeeded. Now we can configure this guy from here by clicking promote this server to a domain controller, or we can configure it from here. As you can see, new role has been added. So we click here on the big yellow sign and click promote this server to a domain controller. So new menu gonna pop up, and we have a three option here. First one is to add a domain controller to an existing domain. We need this feature and this option if we're gonna add this controller to an existing domain. For example, we have some domain and we need to add it, so this will be right choice for us. As we don't have any domain yet, we don't need it. Next one is add a new domain to an existing forest. So we will be adding a domain to an existing our domain forest, and we can add this as tree domain or as child domain. Child domain gonna have like a parent domain. For example, we have domain like microsoft.com, and docsmicrosoft.com will be its child domain. Okay, so we don't need any of this option yet. We need to create a new forest. Like we don't have anything and we need to create a new one. Now we need to specify our domain name for this course, and I would like to call my domain melvin.com. I like to call it that way. Next, we click next and wait. Right here we have some things to do. Settings. Forest functional level. What does this mean? Basically, forest functional level is a level that you're gonna need for this server to operate. Like if we plan to upgrade our old Windows server, for example, where we have all our users. For example, we had users on Windows Server 2008. Yeah, we need to import these guys to our newly installed server. We need to make the forest functional level at 2008. Okay, forest functional level 2008, which means that I will be able to do anything as I am able to do on 2008 server. Domain functional level, we can set anything higher than this. Yeah, so yeah, so we need to be careful when choosing this kind of things right here. Yeah, it's gonna be domain name system and password. This is a password if we need to restore our database, Active Directory database. So we need to put a password here, strong one, but not the administrator one, because it's always good idea to put password different from administrator password. We click next. It won't create the DNS delegation yet because it couldn't find any parent zones. So alright, we'll configure it later. Now it's gonna suggest the NetBIOS name to a domain. It's gonna generate automatically based on our domain we entered, and it's generated Melvin, as you can see. You can change it, but it's always good idea to leave as Windows suggests. So we click next here as well. Here we're gonna get to choose where it's gonna save database folder, sysvol folder, and log files folder. Basically, if you don't know what sysvol folder is, this is the main share folder that our server shares everything to our users. So you can change it, but I will leave it for this course. So it's gonna give us a review of what we are doing here. We say OK, next. It's gonna do some checkups before we will be able to install. Okay, and as you can see, I will click install now, and it's gonna start the installation process for our domain. So I'm gonna get back once it's installed. Alright, so we are back. Server restarted one more time. Now we're gonna click Ctrl Delete again, and as you can see, we have different logon screen. We see our domain name and the user we are currently getting logged in. So let's enter the administrator password for our administrator user, and we're gonna log into our server once again. Server manager gonna open up once again. So today we will create admin user, and that's all for today's lesson. So Active Directory has been successfully installed. As you can see, file and storage services as well. This is the service where, as I already said, that Windows Server shares file to our users, SMB Sambashir. So right now we need to click on Tools and Active Directory Users and Computers. You can do it from Admin Center as well, but I like to do it from here. Here is our domain, melvin.com, and we have some kind of already built-in things like built-in security groups, as you can see. Computers, we don't have any yet. Domain controllers, which is this one, is our first domain global controller. And users, we have also some users, built-in administrator user and guest user, which is disabled at this moment. So first thing first, we need to create organizational unit, because if we need to deploy group policy to some of the users, we can do we can deploy any policy to these containers, okay, these computers or users. We can't deploy any group policy here. We need your organization unit like this one to deploy our group policy later. As I already said, we will need to create new organizational unit by clicking on our domain, new, and organizational unit. Here we type name. I will create IT department, and it's always good idea to create users and computers separately. So inside IT department, I will create a new, again, organizational unit, IT users. This is the accidental deletion. If you check this box up, you won't be able to delete from this menu. You will have to go to a separate menu and delete this unit from there. So be conscious what you're doing here. So yeah, I want to protect this unit, so click OK. And I want to create another unit which gonna be IT computers. This allows us a good manageability to deploy different policies to a different organizational unit, like for example computer-based policies to these computers and user-based policies to user policies. So inside IT users, once we click on it, there is nothing, obviously. We need to create a security group first. I'd like to create security group first. But to do that, we can click this icon here, or we can right click here and click new and group. So here we need to type the security group name. I would choose the IT. I'm gonna say that it's gonna be security group and gonna be global for our first. Okay, so IT security group has been created. Next is user. So we click new user. Here we're gonna type name, for example Nick Johnson, and we're gonna type the user login name where not Johnson, sorry, let's Nick Brown, and I will need to specify the user logon name. By default it's is like your first name, first letter, and the surname, like this, and brown@melvin.com. Next we're gonna have to put password. Now we have 4 options here. What these options does, I will walk you through it. If you check the first option, user will be forced to change the password after he uses our setup password for the first login. So if you want to do that, it's always a good idea to do that, because user sets its own password to his own computer. But as it's a virtual machine, I won't do this. The second option is user cannot change password, which means that user won't be able to change password. I don't check it usually, and I will tell you why later in this course. Password never expires, same one, corresponds to option number 2. I don't need this. And account is disabled, means that if I want to create account but don't want it to be active for some time, I can check this one. But as we need to log into this user, I'm not gonna do any of this option here right now. So we click next and finish. As you can see, Nick Brown user has been created. If we click on it, we see every information about this user. We have more options here and many more. We can set these login hours, for example, from which hour this guy should be login permitted or not permitted. Also we can say that how we want to store its password, smart cards, and many more. We can also set the account expiration date. For example, you know that your colleague needs to leave work for like 20 of September. You set like on 20 of September disables this account, and this account will be disabled for on this date. So it's very cool feature. I use it a lot because when, for example, there is a request from HR department to cancel this user, and it's like in 1 month schedule, you just set it up on your calendar and it just does its work. So no worries about that. Next one is the member of. As you can see, this user is member of domain users and nothing more. So I want this Nicky Brown to be domain admin as well. So how I do it? First thing is I want Nick Brown to be also the member of IT security group. To do that, we click on Nick Brown and add to group. This menu gonna pop up. Now we have 2 options here. We can type the name of the group, security group IT, and click check names. As you can see, it has underline, which means it successfully found the group. But if you don't remember the name or can't find it this way, you can always click locations, advanced, and find now. And as you can see, it shows every available group in your domain right now. So we can edit here IT, and it gives us message that this user has been successfully added to this group. Now I want Nick Brown to also be member of administrator and domain admin. So we choose the same, advanced, find now, and this is gonna be this administrator here. Okay, and again I want this guy to be domain admins. So we can also give this guy enterprise admin, but note that enterprise admins can do anything in our domain, so be careful when giving this kind of roles, because yeah, it's a very dangerous role. It can screw up all the domains. So we give this guy domain admins. Okay, so now if I click on Nick Brown and click on member of, I see that Nick Brown is member of these groups. Now I can sign in with my Nick Brown account. I will say sign out, and I'm gonna click other user. We are already signing to Melvin domain, so we don't need to specify domain. But if we sign into different domain, we specify it with this one. Okay. Yeah. And our setup password, which we set earlier. And as you can see, Nick Brown has been successfully logged in on our server. And successfully he is admin, which means that he can do anything on this domain as well. Yeah. Okay guys, this is it for this lessons. Next time we're gonna cover up some DNS and group policy basic configuration for our domain to take a complete look. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you.